Story 1. Resources including time, money, and attention are allocated to them. Narratives encompassing stories and emotional meanings originate from them. Story 2. They will try to make you feel one of the following: fear, obligation, or guilt. If someone is saying or doing something that seems to evoke one of these emotions, it is important to call them out on it. Narcissists often seek an easy way out. For example, you could say, "It seems like you're trying to make me feel X." Story 3. Nothing is ever their fault. It's always someone else's fault. They will only apologize if or when it suits them, while they are busy feeling sorry for themselves. Story 4. The best telling I've found is that they are never wrong. When you catch a habitual liar on an obvious falsehood or personal fault, they will always find a way to misdirect because they are not used to admitting fault. Many manipulators or liars are masters of reframing. Honestly, I think most do not even realize what they are doing. It is simply a pattern of thinking that is continually reinforced because it consistently works. They are resistant to not being a victim, at fault, or incorrect. Story 5. One sign is when someone is exceptionally charming and persuasive, making you feel special and important. Story 6. I suffered while working alongside one of the most talented manipulators I have ever encountered. She completely dominated the workplace through incredibly skillful manipulation. The only way to understand the situation was to step back and see how nothing made sense. The perception of everything in the workplace became so distorted that I felt as if I were living in a fictional world. Professional individuals were hounded, while the woman conducting the bullying was hailed as the ultimate professional, despite her behavior bordering on juvenile antics. She publicly bullied colleagues and claimed that if they could not handle it, they should not be in the workplace. When someone stood up to her in a moderate manner, she burst into tears, and that person was fired. Not a single individual outside her isolated victim pool seemed to notice the hypocrisy of her narratives. They all believed she was brilliant, yet not one could name anything substantial that she excelled at. She was an incredible manipulator who used her skills for the most trivial kinds of trouble, as if creating drama were her only source of satisfaction in life. She controlled much of the narrative in her circles, and signs of her deceit were only visible when one took a step back to recognize the many contradictions she was surrounded by. Story 7. Most people describe individuals who lie frequently. While this might indicate they are practiced, I would argue that since you know they do it, none of these people lie effectively. A skilled manipulator maintains plausible deniability. If they are truly proficient, you will never be certain they were lying. Story 8. If someone is skilled at manipulation and deceit, there are no indicators, only facts. You cannot simply look for signs. You need to verify everything they say to determine if they are lying or not. Regarding manipulation, it is straightforward. If you are expected to give more than you receive, the relationship is toxic. Those who feel entitled to more often attempt to manipulate to achieve their desires. If someone says, "I deserve this or that," it is best to walk away. Additionally, individuals who blame everyone but themselves are significant red flags. Story 9. You can learn a lot about people by observing the friends and family they socialize with, as well as whether they stay at a job or frequently jump from one to another. I have learned that when someone pressures you for a decision about money or other matters, it's best to delay, deflect, or suggest they consult their close associates instead. Some people create emergencies to prompt an immediate response before you have a chance to think it through. At times, you may need to devise a reason of your own to keep your distance from them. Story 10. Everything is always your fault. When you catch them in a lie and you know they have lied, but they still do not admit it. Story 11. They act foolish whenever it suits them. A significant indicator is when they continuously fabricate stories for their own benefit. They adopt different personas for various situations and abandon their kindness in front of those who will tolerate it. Story 12. It is straightforward aggression when they are exposed or questioned. I am 48 and have learned to expect this from insincere individuals at work and in real life. Story 13. They are a monster to their family behind closed doors. Yet the world praises them as a good person. Bonus points if the manipulator has convinced their family that they are the problem. They have repeatedly tortured their family with mild inconveniences around the clock, which leads to serious mental health issues while labeling them as crazy behind their backs. So others view them as such when they finally start to explain their ordeal. Their abuse causes the family to become depressed and socially awkward, leading people to perceive them as creepy and assuming they are at fault. Story 14. If they are truly skilled at it, you would never know. Inconsistencies in behavior, such as treating others poorly while expecting special treatment for themselves, can indicate a troubling personality. They may present a friendly demeanor outwardly, but engage in gossip about others, which creates a sense of exclusivity for those in their favor. One aspect I observe is how they treat servers or order takers. If they exhibit disrespect towards them and frequently speak negatively about them, I see this as a warning sign. This behavior often stems from viewing those individuals as inferior or not part of their social circle. Mistakes occur in service, orders can be incorrect, and unexpected situations arise. Manipulative individuals cannot tolerate any deviation from their expectations, as it disrupts their plans, leading to frustration. It's important to distinguish between being upset about genuine issues and displaying anger directed at others in a confrontational way. Story 15. They have a pattern of people close to them abruptly cutting off their friendship or relationship for no reason, or because they're crazy. Then one day, when you push back on how they treat you in private or attempt to set a boundary, everyone else hears about how you overreacted for no reason and are considered crazy. Story 16. Not so much a sign that they are good at it, but rather a sign that they are chronic liars or manipulators, is if they always seem to be cycling through people in their lives. Every couple of years, their friends are different. People never seem to stay close friends with them for more than a brief period. There's a good chance it's because, after some time, people discover the toxic or abusive side of them and cut them out. They then have to bring in new friends, and the cycle repeats. I have seen it happen with peers, business owners who cycle through employees, and in relationships. Story 17. If you pay attention to their mouth, they will smirk at some point. It is a power game, and they are having a great time. Story 18. They often use proverbs, idioms, and stories for emotional manipulation. This approach prevents your mind from distraction, leading you to believe that their perspective is valid. Story 19. The timing of when someone becomes defensive is significant. If you confront someone and it takes them a moment to realize they are being challenged before they become defensive, it usually indicates they are not habitually manipulative. On the other hand, if they become defensive immediately, at the moment you show any sign of resistance, as if they had planned their defense in advance, that is a major red flag. Story 20. I am going to say something that might be a bit controversial. Not all manipulators are bad people. I happen to be very skilled at influencing others. As a project manager, this may not come as a surprise. I only influence people for our mutual benefit. I rarely do so for my own advantage, as I understand that it is an unethical choice. Story 21. They are charismatic and you immediately like them. If they are not, then they may still be deceivers and manipulators, but they are not very good at it. Story 22. Their arrival is preceded by warnings that seem odd, vague, or do not match your initial impressions, such as, they're a bit much, don't get roped in, or try not to agree to anything. They request favors under the guise of building you up or putting others down. For example, can you drive me to the airport? I'm told you're the best. And Carol really struggles with the drive. They always have relevant experience that typically surpasses what they are discussing. Like, camping is great. I backpacked across the Great Wall of China, and it changed me forever. People they cannot manipulate are denigrated, with faults potentially ascribed to mental illnesses. They might say, I wouldn't recommend hanging out with Robert. He has anxiety, so conversations with him just drag on. And that's not his fault. I wouldn't want to stress him out. Bringing up anything they have done leads to accusations of caring too much about nothing. If they are wrong, it is always framed as a misunderstanding. There is a slow-motion realization when they find someone cannot be manipulated or has nothing to offer them. Story 23. Mirroring is a technique used to build rapport and create a false sense of connection. I am not good at recognizing it, but my grandsons are. They will mirror my behavior and then laugh because I do not notice it. Mirroring involves a person imitating another's body language, facial expressions, and speech patterns. While it may be an unconscious response, it is often a manipulation technique used in social interactions, sales, interrogations, and interviews. Story 24. They apologize by saying, "I am sorry that you got hurt," instead of, "I am sorry my actions hurt you." They can never accept that they are wrong. They have an inflated sense of superiority and strongly believe that every other culture, religion, line of thought, or ideology is beneath theirs. They score high on the narcissistic spectrum. Story 25. My mother is skilled at manipulation and can make herself burst into tears within seconds. If you dare accuse her of faking it or react negatively in any way, she immediately stops crying and becomes serious and mean again. It is genuinely unsettling to witness. Story 26. Their story had minor changes or inconsistencies. They will also spring into action if challenges arise while defending their secret. Story 27. For manipulation, beware of old friends trying to reconnect after many years of silence. They may bring up old times and fond memories, followed by a request for a favor. Story 28. Manipulators who convince others that they are manipulators to gain control over them are the most devious of all. Story 29. They can turn a friend you've known for years against you in one day. That literally happened to me and it still messes me up. The worst part is I was extremely vulnerable with that friend and shared many of my deepest secrets. I have never lied to her in my entire life, and after they talked, she started accusing me of being a chronic liar and other hurtful things. He has since apologized for all the slander and bullying, and for encouraging her to believe falsehoods about me, but it doesn't matter. The damage is done. I haven't spoken to her or her husband since 2021. Even if she realizes she messed up, I don't want her back in my life. Story 30. To be a good liar, you need to remember your lies. Manipulative people are selfish by definition. Story 31. If they are always slow to provide an answer when asked simple questions, that is a red flag. This is a good sign they are looking to provide what they think you want to hear and are not speaking from the heart. Story 32. One person is missing. They will demand an apology. Never say, "I think you should apologize." Always say, "You owe me an apology." Make sure you know the difference, as it can be subtle at first. Once you realize they make demands for apologies, rather than requests, you will notice it quickly. They also want apologies frequently. Story 33. They ask you to trust them when there is really no reason to. "Trust me. I know a thing or two about reading. I swear my debit card just disappeared. Can I be honest with you? I never really considered fruit salad to be a salad." If they want you to trust them on inconsequential things, it is either because they want you to get used to telling them you trust them, or they are so accustomed to seeking others' trust that they require it on every topic. Story 34. In groups, they lead the conversations. If they step away for a minute and the participants look uncomfortable about continuing, it is clear that there is an issue. Story 35. Your views are valid. I'm sorry you felt that way. Then continue to do the same thing all over again and wish you a good life. Story 36. They have an excuse for everything, lacking self-awareness when confronted about their behavior. Story 37. If they are really good, maybe there will not be many signs. However, if the person behaves in a manipulative way, rarely accepts responsibility for their actions, frequently gaslights you, and makes you think things are all in your head, I would say those are signs. Story 38. They have a lot of money. Usually, you need to be able to do both if you want to amass a dragon's hoard. Story 39. This is difficult because if they are so good at it, then people wouldn't notice, and people's ability to detect dishonesty varies. For me, if I walk away from a conversation feeling overly positive, I consider it a red flag. It is far easier to notice when someone else is being manipulated, so be aware of that and remember it for later. Liars are everywhere. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Story 40. I recently experienced a situation like this. She was great, but I realized she was manipulative because significant life events were occurring outside of her control, such as job loss and hospitalization, and she began to spiral. A skilled manipulator can go undetected, but pay attention to how they react to situations outside their control. They may act passive-aggressively and hurt your feelings, then apologize. However, when you discuss the issue, they will place the blame on you. They may make outrageous decisions and seek your support, even though they hesitate to commit to their own choices. They will try to gain your support through fear, and if you disagree, they will find ways to persuade you to comply. When you open up to them in even the smallest way, they may use that information against you, sometimes feigning support to make you feel comfortable, and other times throwing it back in your face. All of this happened to me within 2 months. I am proud of my growth because the last time I experienced something similar, it lasted a year. Story 41. They always say the appropriate thing or show the appropriate emotional response to fit their narrative. Their responses are calculated instead of organic. However, as soon as they realize you are noticing something suspicious about their behavior, they suddenly struggle to understand the obvious points you are making, or they attempt to steer the conversation into an argument focused on semantics rather than the actual details. Story 42. Remember, the greatest tool of the manipulator, gaslighter, or narcissist is to accuse others of such behaviors. Many individuals in this discussion may use these terms whenever someone acts in a way they dislike. They consider themselves experts. Labeling someone as a narcissist or manipulator is an effective way to immediately dismiss their arguments and position yourself as a victim. This is a tip from someone who recognizes these tactics. Story 43. As someone who is manipulative, I can attest that it can be difficult to determine if someone is good enough. Unlike other manipulative individuals, I have a higher level of Machiavellian traits than average, but I score lower in psychopathy and narcissism. I also score high in altruism, empathy, and compassion. I genuinely care for people, but at the same time, I am very manipulative. I get people to like me, subtly influencing them, but I do not demean them, put them down, make them dependent, or have malicious intentions. However, the actions I take to achieve my goals, while not harmful, are slow and insidious, embedding me into their minds. I like people and appreciate their affection, but I do not hurt others, which is probably the most noticeable trait of a manipulative person. Machiavellianism refers to the tendency to manipulate, while narcissism and psychopathy, or a lack of empathy and compassion, are the ways to truly identify a manipulative person. Otherwise, they can be nearly undetectable. Story 44. Here are some quick tips. They will never ask for much. They will only deceive you about things that you cannot confirm or that are not important. Story 45. Some responses are similar, but in general, they are compensated for their work. The more they are paid, the better their performance tends to be, including in areas such as sales and politics. Story 46. They will tell you they do not understand what you said when they actually do understand. Looking for a weakness. Story 47. When someone says they are a bad liar, they may actually be a decent liar who wants you to let your guard down and view them as honest. What is someone's intention in claiming they are a bad liar? A good person might be revealing a weakness, but that can be misguided. Another example is giving up their tell. For instance, saying, "I always blush when I lie," or "I always laugh when I lie." Again, why would someone share this information? It reflects poorly on their judgment. A cunning person can fake certain tells, such as looking at the ground during an obvious lie, making it easy for you to identify when they are lying. However, when they tell a real lie, they will do so with confidence and without any noticeable tells. Story 48. People are skilled in their actions. I have seen individuals manipulate others into saying exactly what they want, making them believe that they actually intended to say that. Similarly, I have encountered people who lie habitually. I suppose they do this as practice for larger lies, making it nearly impossible to catch them. Story 49. They usually start with small requests, such as, "Hand me that pencil." This causes two problems. First, we tend to like people for whom we do favors more. Second, it establishes a form of authority on which larger requests can be built. Story 50. They mirror whoever they are currently engaging with and actively change their tone and mannerisms from person to person. Story 51. The thread is tarnished by politics. To answer, my perspective is that they apologize, lie again, and play the victim. Story 52. Like another comment said, what people describe here are amateur manipulator behaviors. Expert manipulators are those who appear genuinely nice and lovely. They hide in plain sight and use their influence only when it truly matters. It also depends on the relationship. Your mother may be an expert manipulator with you, while she isn't with her own mother or others. You might be an expert manipulator with your girlfriend, but not with her friends. Being a manipulator isn't always associated with bad intentions. It simply reflects having power over what others do. Story 53. The truth is a single version, nothing else. Lies change according to circumstances, and so do liars. Story 54. When they are employed as the president's press secretary or as a public relations representative for any large organization, I believe lying comes so naturally to them that they do not even realize how much they do it. For example, when a chief executive officer or cabinet secretary wants to release a statement on something, their employee is asked by the public relations representative to write it. They do so, only to later read in the newspaper. Jane Figment, CEO of Hoopla International, says, "The five-alarm fire in our facility was caused by..." It is the quotes. No, they did not say that. You did. Or perhaps when a fiery explosion and crash of a failed rocket test flight is referred to as an unscheduled rapid disassembly, instead of a fiery explosion and crash of a failed rocket. Let us heroically offer to rescue stranded astronauts with our great spacecraft. Story 55. They run for president and win by claiming the current president was born in a foreign country and that their opponent had a private email server. Story 56. They are elected after being convicted, cheating on their spouse, going bankrupt multiple times, and have paid civil penalties for assaulting a woman. Story 57. They were elected as head of state for a second time despite being utterly incompetent to fill the role. Story 58. The ability to say something at the right moment is important. If someone supports Trump and states that the stock market is crashing under him, you can politely remind them that the gross domestic product of the United States might drop by up to 2.8% in the first quarter. Half of manipulation involves waiting for the person to speak, while the other half is knowing what to say. Story 59. I don't really know. Why do you feel the need to ask the question? Are you worried that people think this way about you? I'm in psychiatry and about to receive my fellowship. To be honest, in my practice and training, you sound like you lie quite often and manipulate people for your gain. Just kidding. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.